Hello! I went to Florida for 3 days, which ended up being 5 or 6 weeks or something like that. I got a ton of stuff to share with you. A lot of cool stuff coming. An entire change in what I do and everything else. But too much blah blah. So I got a bunch of stuff over here. It's been stacking up. I'm gonna review all that stuff, and that's coming up. But the really cool thing is I had some time over the past couple of weeks to work on something I've been wanting to work on for a really long time. Premiere Pro motion graphics stuff that I've wanted forever. I went out and I purchased a bunch and they didn't do this or they didn't do that or they were complicated or you had to go in After Effects and you had to like change stuff, and I was just like, I've had enough, so I did it. Now here's what I'm gonna do. I could sit here and blah blah and show you all the things moving in and out, what you can do. I think it's like a 40 or 48 minute video that I made on how to use these, what they're all about and everything else. I'm just gonna insert that here. You may just be like, I don't care, but if you watch it, you'll learn some things about motion graphics. You'll learn some things that you didn't know. I finally constructed something that I can use that's simple and easy. Anyway, just watch the video. I'll be back after the video's done to say hello and goodbye and all that. So insert video here now. All right, so we've installed all our motion graphics. They're all over here in the Essential Graphics panel. If you don't have that open, as I said, make sure you pull down Window and select Essential Graphics. Now, I'm going to turn this workspace into my own workspace. If this is the workspace you use, which is currently editing, fine. If you like some other workspace, choose that. This is just easier for me because it gives me more room and only shows the essential things that I want to cover in this. Now I'm going to grab this piece of footage here. It's simply some footage of approaching Jupiter. And it plays slow and there's not a lot going on, but it allows me to show you what's going on here. So let's just grab this first one here. This is BFO1. Remember the sets are 1, BFO1 left, BFO1 right, BFO1 top, and then we go to, I'm going to press the tilde key, and we go to the second set, the third set, etc. I'm going to show you all these different ones using this, and then I'll show this call out later using a different piece of footage. Let's just go into some basics here. Now simply drag and drop this into here. Now all of these are 10 seconds long, and it doesn't matter. I'll show you in a minute why. The first thing you may notice is this may be too big. Now these were all made in 4K, so you can modify them, you can scale them. If you are working in say 1080 and you have something like this appear, simply select on it, go to the effects controls over here, and then either change this, or you can also right click and say set to frame size. Now what that does is it sets it to 50%. I'm in 1080 right now, 4K is twice that, so it puts it up there. Now you'll notice that what happens is this is going to come in like this. It's going to scoot up. It's going to show the text. That's all going to fade in, and it's going to sit there, and it goes along and goes away. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is we want to work on this. So all I do is I select that, and if the edit doesn't come up, then click on Edit on the Essential Graphics. Now I've stuck these in these little containers. There's a lot of stuff in here. You don't have to edit every single thing in here, but you can. Let's just start at the top. This is on all of them. It just shows where you got it from. The upper text, and we're referring to this text up here. You can set what the text is. You can set the font, the bolding, all the different Fox, Faubo, italic, small caps. You can set its font size up here. You can set the text color. You can just click here and say, I think I'll have yellow. Bam, you're done. Let's undo that. You can set where the text lands left and right. You can set the X and Y position. You can set the scale of the text, and that's the upper text. Now, if you close that, you go to the middle text and bar. Here's line 1, here's line 2. Same thing. All these things are editable, every single one. We could go in and take the middle strip color and we could say, okay, let's grab something anywhere. Let's set it to this pink. Boom, done. Let's undo that. You can set the thickness of this particular bar in the middle here. Just a zoop. You can make it really, really big. It won't go higher, or you could make it 0. If you don't want any bar in there, you want nothing in there, you can do that. Same with the scale. Same with where it goes in the Y direction, where it goes in the X direction. And those are all your values there. Again, you can set all these. Now let's go into the lower text. Same thing. You have 3 lines of text here. The font, the style, the size, the color, where it ends up being X, where it ends up being Y, what its scale is, etc. Let's undo that. And finally, the box itself. Now the box is this area here. It's kind of hard to see. I should have used something lighter on this. Let's change the box color to something you can see. Well, now you can see it, and that's really ugly, but it'll help us for our my presentation here. So the box, you can set the width of the box. You can make it big, full screen. You can make it really tiny, whatever you want to do. Same with the height. You can make it big. You can make it small, obviously. If I were doing that, I would play with the text. I'll show you that in a moment. The opacity of the box. You can cut the opacity down, run it all the way up. I'd probably set it there. In fact, I'm going to change this because this is like just really ugly. Let's go with maybe this grayish bluish. There we go. You can set the opacity, how much you're going to see through, totally opaque, and put it down like that. Same again, width, height, etc. Here there are rounded corners now. You can actually round the corners of this and turn it into almost a lozenge type stuff. Now, no matter what you do to this thing, it's still going to work. It's going to come in, it's going to zoom up. There's your middle text, and then you're done. Now, the way you do this is, let's say I want this to come on the screen like this, and I want it to sit for that long, and then I want it to go away. The first thing you need to know is hold down the Alt key and click on this. Let's say our text is all set up here, and that's what we want. Hold down the Alt key and drag up, and you've just made a copy. So now we have 2 copies. Right click, speed and duration. What you're going to do is reverse the speed on this. Hit reverse speed and hit OK. So here's what's happening here. What I've done is this one's coming on the screen, and since I made a duplicate, this one's going to go off the screen. Now you would do that as a last, like after you came over here and you set up all your text and your lozenge and corners and color, and boy, that's really, let's go into the middle text and bar, and let's set this bar color to something else. Yeah, that is really, really ugly. Let's grab that. Okay, so there's a middle text like that. Now, so this is going to come on. It's going to appear, and then you're going to ride along, la, 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 and that's going to come off. Now, notice what I did there. I changed this one, but since I made a copy, it's reverting back to the old one. And that's why I say, let's delete this. That's why I say make all your changes and your text and everything else here. And then simply duplicate, right-click, speed duration, reverse speed, done. Now that'll come on, then it'll go off. So let's move this down here. Let's say I wanted this thing to come on, kind of hang there for a little minute, and then maybe right there I want it to go off. So just chunk this down here, chunk this over here. Let's say I want it to come off there, like this, and simply drag it down, and that's exactly what you have. It'll automatically cut itself, it'll play, and then it will go away. Okay? That's how you make these. Now, let's take this off. Let's make this back to its 10 seconds. Let's say I wanted this thing to come on here, and I wanted it to be longer.
Let's say I wanted it to be really, really, really long, this guy, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to Alt drag this. This is where it goes off. I'm going to make sure I speed duration, reverse the clip, and it'll go off, right? There it goes off, and here's where it comes on. That's the max. So how do I fill in this whole space here with this thing? Simply goes somewhere in this clip because it animates on, and once it animates on, it's not going to do anything here. Click right about here, right click, add frame hold. You have to excuse I believe it's a helicopter or something flying over right now. Now what add frame hold does, again, I don't know your skill level, add frame hold comes along and says, once I hit this, I want you to take the first frame and just use that, which means that you can make this as long as you want and it'll just sit there, right? So let me give you an example on here. I'm just going to undo that. So here's Jupiter playing along, right? See, it's moving, it's moving, it's moving, right? So if I added a frame hold here, moves. See how it stopped? It took the first frame that it landed on here and it basically made it a photo. So now I can make this as long as I want. I could make this thing 30 minutes long if I wanted to. So you follow that? So let's take that off and return our footage to where it is. In fact, we're just going to undo all that. Okay, so we're back. So again, here's my title. I'm just going to right click, add frame hold. Now I know this one can go as long as I want. So that guy's just going to play along and sit there forever. That's how you make this thing super long. Just drag it down. Let's drag this guy way down here. And that'll just keep going and going and going. That's how you animate the thing on. That's how you keep it going as long as you want. That's how you animate it off right there. Let's undo all that. Let's zoom back in. Let's take off our frame hold. Now the same thing is true. Let's start again. I have this piece here. Let's say I want to animate it on, have it stay about that long, and then I want it to animate off right there. Not a problem. Again, duplicate it. Click on the second one. Speed duration. Reverse it so it comes off. And it starts going off right. You can see it start to move and animate off right about there. So let's go in and cut that right there. Right? And now we animate on. And let's say we want it that long. Let's cut that right there using a keyboard command. And there we go. Animates on, does its thing, animates off. Let's see what happens here. It's animating on. There it is, doing its thing and animating off. Okay, good. So let's just take a look at this for a second. When I come over here and I have this thing, I simply click on here and the edits are going to show up. Now usually I use these defaults that I've set up with the yellow and everything else. I have this like this. Let's see how to do this. Let's say the upper text is going to be planet system. Okay. And then we're going to close that. In the middle text, let's just put in Jupiter in here. Jupiter, right? And I only want one line. Well, that's fine. Just delete the second line. Okay. Now let's move its Y position where we want it. Let's say right about there. Actually, let's do it this way. Let's move this top one down. Y position, and we move that there. Let's move the top one down where we want it. Say right there. And on our lower line of text, way down here, let's just say a very nice planet, period, done. I don't want the other lines, so I'm going to click here. I'm going to remove all that text, tab, remove all that text, tab, and I want to move that up also. Let's move that right there. my box is too big, so I'm going to close the box height down here. Not that much. Sometimes these are a little finicky. I've given you 50,000 pixels and mine is 50. If they jump around, if you're like, whoa, click here. And then just do that. And then let's take the width of the box and let's just close it down. Right. So let's say we want to do something like, well, let's do something like this. So now it animates on, does its thing, and that's what we want. Okay, there we go. So now you've seen, that's played around. You know, I might even do this. Let's go around and let's move this box here. Let's go into this middle strip thickness. And let's just take this guy. We're going to use this guy. Let's make it like that. Let's move our planet system down to here. Let's move our very nice planet up to here. Let's make our box height smaller. Now we kind of got a lozenge thing going on. Let's play with the corners. Square. Yeah, let's just add a little bit of rounded corners there. That's kind of nice. And let's say that's where we want it. That's what we want. Now, we've done everything we wanted here. We know where we want it. We know how it's going to do. It's going to come on here. And it's just going to animate from the bottom. Zoom. Come on. Do its thing. That's what we want. Cool. Let's say we want to see Jupiter. We want to actually see this thing. Well, it's very easy where hopefully you've done this before, but this is now a self-contained object. If I click on any of these objects and I move them around, they're going to be in the X and Y position. Well, this is also a self-contained object, so I go up and I simply go to motion and I just move it where I want it. Let's, we better return this guy back to where it was. There we go. So I click on my motion graphic and let's say I decide, oh, let's move it, not look cooler down here. So now this thing's going to animate on down here. That's what I want it to do. Very nice planet. And then Jupiter comes in. So let's do our little trick. We're going to duplicate this. We're going to right click on it. We're going to do speed and duration. We're going to reverse the speed. We're going to chuck this down here. Maybe have this thing come on here. Jupiter, a very nice planet. Maybe it stays onto there. And then it comes off there and goes back down. Let's check it out. And there you go. And then this plays out. So you can see the power of this. It's not just a regular title card on this thing. You can really modify this and do whatever you want with it. Let's say I didn't like this here and I wanted to move this over to the right-hand side. I liked it better. So I'm going to click on it. I'm just going to move this over here. Now, of course, the problem is I've moved this element. And now it's over there. It's flipping around. That's okay. Just simply right-click on motion. Copy the motion parameters. Go to this one. Click on it. And then just simply paste those motion parameters. And now you've moved it there. And there it is. Planet system. Jupiter. A very nice planet. And then it goes away. That is how you use almost every single one of these. You can do a lot of stuff with these. Oh, one other thing before I go on. Duplicating these. Let's say you do this. Planet system, a very nice planet. And let's say you want... later on down the road, you have something. Let's put another one here. Later, I just duplicated the planet system. Let's pretend this is another planet or something. And let's say, gosh, I want to use the same colors and all the parameters I set and everything else. That's the same thing. Hold down Alt, click on it, just drop it over here. Now you got a new one. Comes on. Click it. Let's edit. We'll call this End Planet System. we'll come down here and say N Jupiter. We're just playing around. And a very nice planet, right? So there we go. We have all the same colors, all the same animation, different text. Again, we're going to duplicate this. We're going to click on it. We're going to right click it, speed and duration, reverse the speed. Okay. Little trick here is you can move this around, but you can just move this right over that and it'll cut it. So now we have this one. And planet system and Jupiter and a very nice planet goes off the screen. Here's the beginning one. Planet system Jupiter, a very nice planet. And off it goes the screen. Now, you may notice some things here. These things can seem quite heavy, and it's going to depend on your computer. Like if your computer is chuck, 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 like sometimes a slower computer, this thing will chuck up here when it's animating. It'll be fine while it's playing. And then see that little chuck there? You just click it again and play it again. And pretty soon Premiere Pro will go, oh, I see what you're doing. Then we go here. And you see that? Click again, play it. There we go. Premiere Pro is just getting the idea. You'll see that on these red bars right here. If you don't like that, go ahead and someplace in here, set I for an in point. Click over here. Set O for an out point. Go up to sequence and render in to out. What it's going to do is it's going to render everything between this in and out point. Let's do that. Render in to out. It's going through and it's rendering everything here. Just as if you sent it out to a render, it's going to go through and render this thing, and then it's going to play it with no chucking whatsoever. That's one solution if you have a slower computer. There it is. Now it's playing. No problem chucking in and out. It's all green, good to go. Yellow is usually fine. There's no chucking on yellow. And it keeps going. Let's put her out here and her in here. Oops, sorry. In here and her out here. So now, unless I make any changes to this, this is all good. It's going to play. It's not going to chuck. This may chuck a little bit. Let's see. Yep. The other thing you can do, of course, is you can change your resolution of the playback resolution. Like if I set it to half, it's going to get the idea a lot quicker. Yeah, there we go. Now, it won't be as crisp until you stop playing, but you can play around with it, and it'll do that. Again, it depends on which asset you're using, because there's a lot of, I mean, look at this. There's a lot of motion blur and stuff going on in this thing. The more intricate these are, that can happen. But once you get used to it and doing these, it's quite simple. Let's delete these, and let's delete all this stuff down here. And let's go back to here, and let's grab another one. All these are like here, right? Let's right click, scale to frame size. Here, this one's going to come from the bottom and res in. Okay, let's undo that. That's bottom. You have a left element. We'll set it to the frame size. Comes in from the left, does basically the same stuff, right? Next, you have BF01 right. I usually work in 4K. Set to frame size. There it comes in from the right. That's the same thing. You set up your parameters, your text, and everything else. You scale it however you want. You position it however you want. And that's how this thing works. You can decide on the number of lines and everything you want to do here using all these parameters. And then once you have it set up, you just duplicate them and you copy them. Let's get rid of that one. And of course, we have one coming in from the top. Let's set the frame size. And this one simply comes in from the top. Now the reason I did that is many of the I've purchased many of these, used many of these canned ones, and I don't always want it coming in from the right or coming in from the left. Sometimes I want it to come from the bottom. Sometimes I want it to come from the top, especially these larger ones. These larger ones, usually you wouldn't do this. You would use like some sort of background or graphic. Let's just do this. I'm going to come over here so you can see what's going on here. And I'm going to create a color mat. And I'm going to make it white. And we'll call it color mat. I'm going to drop this under here so you can see. Yeah, now you can see what's going on, right? There it is. So, usually you'd have some sort of photo or picture or gradient thing or something like that. So let's take that off because I kind of like Jupiter. All right, let's check out a few other of these. Now we go into this next set, which is O2, left and right. I didn't do an up and down. I played with it. You can do it like this if you want. Let's set it to the frame size. There you go. Again, this thing's gonna zoom in from the right with all the motion blur. All these things are gonna come in. And you would do the same thing. You determine what you want in here. Let's edit. Top text, got 2 lines, middle text here, bottom text. The box in this case, you have the stroke color. You also have the stroke thickness. If you don't want any stroke, take it off. If you want a giant box, go ahead and do what you want to do with that. Same with the opacity. You can change the opacity to nothing. You can go all the way to opaque. They're all set at 80%. You can play with the width. You can play with the height. You can play with the text. You go to the top text. We can set the color to something atrocious like pink. All these are editable. Now, once you get used to these, they're all the same. They're all ordered the same. They all have these same elements. And once you set these up, you'll get quite fast and quite easy. It'll be quite easy for you to use them in your videos. And once you set them up for your particular color scheme and whether or not you want corners, whether or not, what you want, the opacity on these things, the width you want on these things, you just duplicate them and you keep editing them. And that way, all throughout your entire video, you don't come back here and keep adding a new one and a new one. You just duplicate the one you did so it's consistent if you want. So that's the second set. Let's look over here at the third one. Third one, let's set the frame size. The third one simply comes in this way. Comes in, motion blurs in, everything appears. And then, you have the same thing. You have a ton of text. You can, 2 lines at top, and again, you can remove these lines. You can move them around. You can use the middle text. That's the lower text. There's 9, actually 10 lines. Again, you can remove them all you want. You can set the font and everything else. And then the middle text. Here's a couple of lines here. Subtitle, there, we just made them italic. You can bold them. You can turn off the bold. You can make it light. You can make it black. You can do whatever you want with these. And once you do these, again, you can just click on this thing, go over to your effects control, and, if you want to make it small like this, and you just want to have the thing come in here, let's say we just want a little tiny yellow line right there. We just have this guy kind of zoom in over here, zing it in, boom. There it is, and there's your little line there. You can move it up here, you can move it down here. You can do all sorts of crazy stuff with this. Let's see what else we got down below here. Of course, you got the box, and you got all your parameters there. And how thick the line is, and the width and the height and the color of the box and everything else. So I could go over here and just select that color. Boom. And then instead of the yellow, let's go over here and select this brown color. Just like that. Boom, you have matching colors. So that's that one. Let's get rid of that. Let's go back over to here. There's one for the left, and then there's also one for the right. Put it in. Set it to frame size, and then you got the same thing happening. Comes in from the right. And again, you can scale these. You can make them big. You can make them small. You can make them tiny. You could put this over here as if it's some kind of call out or something just showing, and it'll just appear on the screen. It doesn't always come in from the left. It just kind of draws on. So you could also use that for some sort of cool call out. Follow so far? I know this is a lot of stuff. Once you get used to these, you will rip through these. Okay, that is left and right 3. Now this fourth set, it's just a smaller one. Let's do, let's set this to the frame size. It's just a smaller one, so you don't have to resize the other one. You'll notice this one comes in and draws a line. Instead of the line being over here, it's got a line in the middle. Same thing. You can remove the text. You can remove this. You could scale this down. You could have 1 line, 2 line. I don't know how many lines I allowed in here. Yeah, 5 lines of description. You can play with the box. You can do some interesting things. For instance, let's go in here and let's set the lower text. Let's just pull all these out, right? And then let's take the upper text and pull the top line out. And then let's move this guy down like this. And then let's go over to lower text right here. And let's move that up here. Now, let's go down to this guy, roundness, and let's round this sucker. Right, you see what I did there? And then we'll take like the width, made it a little roundy. Maybe we pull this thing in here like this. Maybe we take this thing and we just move it up here like this. And you see we've gotten a completely different effect here, where this thing comes in like this. So you can do all sorts of stuff with these. You can move them all over the place, scale them, round them. Like there's almost infinite possibilities with all these different assets. Again, I've tried to keep it simple. Once you get these down, you don't have to change everything. This again, it's just a right version. Again, 1080, there we go. Comes in. Well, what if you're working in 720? Well, it's simple. You would set it to 25%. You know, 720 would be like this, and this would be on 720, so you set it to 25%. It doesn't matter how big you set these. It doesn't care. It'll still work. All right, let's go in here. This is one of my favorite little guys. I use this to tell people to subscribe or whatever. Let's just grab this thing, throw it on there, set the frame size. This guy just comes in, zings in like that. There it is, comment, subscribe, like. Again, I would duplicate this. I would click on the second one. I would reverse it. I would say I want it on the screen for about that long. Drop that in there, take out the end. And then away it goes. And there's nothing says you can't take this thing, and also maybe it's too big for you. Maybe you want to make it smaller. You know, maybe you want to make it like that. Just throw it down there. Throw this guy over here. Right? And then this guy comes in like this. Again, you duplicate it. Again, simply duplicate it, right click, reverse the speed duration, decide how long you want it on the screen, maybe like that. It'll come on, sit there, boom. One more time. Let's put this down here. This is not long enough to reach down to here. Pick anywhere in here, right click, add frame hold, all the way to the end. Now you've got it as long as you want. It'll sit there forever until it goes off. Okay? Good. All right. Now that also has a left and a right. And all these parameters, again, set to frame size. All these parameters are editable. The box and the line, how big is the box, the opacity, how thick is this line. We can make this line thick or thin. We could make it go away if we want to. We could change the opacity like this and just make it really subtle. We could take and maybe, let's add just a little bit of line in here like that. We could change all these. Notice the box height and the box width, what's happening here. So you can do some interesting effects that way. Same with this, interesting effects that way. And of course the text, as I said, you can change everything. I mean, we could change the font to, I don't know, news cycle. Ugh. And that's how you use those. All right. Now, lastly, Oh, not lastly. Now you have these lower thirds. These are very handy. I kept them simple. Drop it in, set it to the frame size, and I made it big like this so you can work with it. You're going to size it down. So I go in and I select this. The text is going to be, I gave you 3 lines. I'm just going to call it Basic Filmmaker, fine, and all the various things and positionings. There's that one. Here's that text too, and you can do all of move them all around and set the scale and everything else to how you like it. The box again, you can play with where the width ends up. This one is interesting because it has a skew. See that? That's like that. So you can play with the skew, do some whacked out things. You're gonna have to move things around, but sometimes it looks good when you do something like that, right? And again, you can change the color and everything else. So now that I got that set up, I like the way that is. I'm just gonna simply go through and let me scale this down to how I like it. I like it like that. Maybe I'll stick that over here. Maybe I'll pop it down here. It comes on. We're in half mode. Let's go to full. This thing pops on, draws on like that, and it just sits there. Again, Alt, drag, dupe, right click, speed or duration, reverse speed, done. I probably want it on, oh, let's say it comes on there, and let's say it goes off. Drag it over, take off the end, and we have the thing come on. It does what it does, and then it animates out. You don't always have to animate things out. Like if you're going from a cut shot, like if you're going from Jupiter and then you're going to something else, this thing may be sitting here like this on your cut shot. It may just animate in, blah, 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 and cut. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. So that's your lower third. And again, you can move this wherever you want and scale it. You can put it up here. You could stick it in the middle of the screen if you want down here. Just have it come on here. It's still going to animate in like that and appear, and it's going to be fine. So that's the lower third. You can do anything you want with that. Just for fun, I put in another lower third. This has a lot more stuff in it. Let's set that to the frame size. It comes in, and you'll notice this guy has more lines of text. It's just wider up here. I could have done it to where you could use the other one and actually format it this way. It's just easier to do this. You have 3 lines of text up here. You have 2 lines of text here. You can play with all these and the box width and how big the yellow is and the skew and all that kind of stuff. You can do all that. You can just modify them. And again, once you get it the way you want it, you just duplicate it. Let's change this to a, let's change that to a brown so it matches. Let's scale this down, maybe like that. Maybe we'll stick this over here. Cool. I like that. Now again, if I'm coming down here, way down here, and I have everything set up, if maybe I've taken the thickness of the box and done some weird wacky stuff with it. Maybe I've changed my skew to 0 because I like that. You can do minus, by the way. -9. Maybe I like that, and I'm going to use this type of thing later, except I'm going to set this to the different type of planets that I have. Let's move this down. You'd simply Alt drag and duplicate it, and you would just edit this one. And let's go down and take this color and change this one to maybe, I don't know, let's change, oh, that's the text, pardon me. Let's come down here and do that. And let's change the box color to, oh, that was kind of cool. Let's change it to this. Okay, now we got a blue one. So there's that one. And then I can change all these. And again, you just Alt drag and make a duplicate. You don't have to drag them every single time up here from the browse mode. You don't have to drag it and change the color and try and match it every time. That's kind of a pain. So that's the last set. Those are lower thirds. And again, I know they're lower thirds. You can put them anywhere you want. You can put them up here. You can scale them down. You could have this thing sitting down here below the planet. You can put this thing up here. You know, wherever you want to put these, whatever size you want to make them, you can make them gigantic. You'll notice it's a 280 And you'll notice it doesn't get all de-resi and crappy looking, and that's how I designed them. So let's put this down here. So those are the lower thirds, the single line and the multi-line. Now lastly, we have a callout. Now the callout, you'll see only one, and that's because it's pretty sophisticated. Drag this guy, and let's stick this guy here. Same deal. We're going to set the frame size. Now the callout, don't move it around over here. Just start over here. Let's just call this Jupiter. Let's do this Jupiter. Apparently I can't spell. And that's what we're going to do. So text color I like. I'm going to stick with the yellow. If you change this dot color, for instance, like this pink, notice how everything changes about this. The outline, everything. Jupiter. Let's just go with pink. So there's the dot color, right? And then we go in. That's the box. The inside of the box. You see that? Make it that way, that way. Now what you do with this thing is you go ahead and, oh yeah, you can skew this too. You can play with the box back and forth, right? You can also play with its roundness. You can make it round like that, right? So you can do a lot of stuff with this. Now this guy gets very, very interesting. Now here is the dot X and Y position. Watch this. Put that there. Now notice text X and Y position. I'm moving this, and notice how that line follows this. I think the box is too wide. You'll notice this is right justified. Now watch what happens when I take and I change the box. Look at that. So let's say Jupiter there. Let's go up here and let's put where we'll put our text. Let's say we want to put this over here, and we're going to zing this guy up here, right? That's the text X and Y position. Now you have the dot X and Y position. Let's put the dot, say, right here. So what will happen is this guy will animate on, draw, come up, and draw the Jupiter thing. So there we go. Boom. And there's Jupiter. How about that? That could be a little shorter. Let's make this, yeah, you can go this way too, by the way. Make this like that. That just looks a little better. Maybe like that. And then this animates on with the dot. Zinc. And again, if we want it to animate it off, Alt drag. Let's make this here. Over here to the end, it's going to animate off. Right click. Speed duration. Reverse the speed. Now it's going to animate off. Zoom. So we take that little end piece. We stick it over here. And here, let's do that. And here we go. Zing. There's Jupiter. Bye-bye. That wasn't very long. Let's try that again. Zing. There's Jupiter. Animates on. And there it animates off. You can use multiples of these. You can say Jupiter. I don't know if, yeah, there's a lot of things moving here. I was going to say we could put something on this. That's a whole different deal with actually having this dot follow that. But that's the simplicity of these. That's how you use them. It may seem like a lot. It's intentionally a lot because I wanted to basically reveal everything that you could possibly edit about something so you could edit it. I've run into too many times where I've purchased these and I can't change the color, or I can't move the dot, or this thing comes in from the right, or I can't make the box bigger, or I can't change the font, or I can't, make the text the way I want it. And it just kind of made me kind of nuts. And so I've revealed everything. It seems complicated, but they're all the same. And once you get used to using these and messing around with these things and setting them up and knowing full well that, let's delete that, knowing full well that once you get this, duplicate, bink, right click, speed duration, reverse speed, boom. That's how they work. And I'll show you. You get used to it. It's like anything. Once you're first editing and you're having a problem and you're cutting and you go look for this little thing over here. You know, it takes a while. Once you get used to using these tools, they become a snap. I throw this thing on here. I'm in 1080. I can already see it. Let's set the frame size. I want this thing to come on here. I want to call this Jupiter, Jupiter. Cool. Let's go down. Let's set the box width to here. That's perfect. I want that over there. I'm going to stick this guy up here. I'm going to come down here. I'm going to stick the dot over here on Jupiter. That's how I want it. Alt dupe, right click, speed duration, reverse the speed. I know it's going to be right about there. Come over here, lob it off there, boom, boom, done. I just made a call out. Now, if you think you can do that faster by round tripping from Premiere Pro to After Effects or whatever, we'll knock yourself out. But this is to save you time, and this is to make things really, really simple. And there you go. That's pretty much it. I could go through for the next couple of hours. This is a really long video, I know. I go through hours and all the different permutations and things you can do with this. I'm going to let you do that yourself and investigate yourself and use it yourself. Again, remember just to find which one of these you do, play with them, add them, change the colors. Remember, I've changed all this stuff before. I've changed the color and I changed the font and everything else. Remember, just don't go back and say you're going to use, you want to use a call out again. Don't go back here and then decide that you're going to just put in another call out again because you're going to get the default, right? You're going to have to go through. Just grab this thing, alt click, drag, and use that one. Just use it over. Change the size and everything else to what you need. Once you use these, you'll find they are really quick and they save you a ton of time. Once you set up your call out for your 1080 like this, and you're like, okay, my call out's going to be this way, you'll just copy and paste this thing all over the place. Yeah, let's do that. You can do that too. You can copy this and you can also just paste in a new version, V, reverse it. Speed duration, reverse it, boom, right? And it comes on and it goes off. So that's the deal. So just go ahead and make your own. You can just use them the way they are and change the text. And if you have any questions, you obviously can let me know. There will be more videos. I'll be covering more tips and tricks. I will be covering more on how to use these. And you'll see in my videos how I use these in different ways. But experiment with them, play with them. This is an entire tool set in itself, much like Premiere Pro when you first run it up. If you expected to go through and create and edit a video and do all these titles and everything else, in 15 minutes, you're kind of fooling yourself unless you're really experienced. These take some time to learn. And once you learn them and once you use them and get used to using them, they'll save you a ton of time and they'll really up your videos.
Okay, now I hope watching that you got something out of it. I mean, if you use Premiere Pro or whatever and you want to go over and purchase this thing, go for it. It's $14 frickin', which is nothing. It includes any of the updates, includes support, includes emails. You're gonna go, oh, I wish you could add blah, I'm gonna add it, and then you'll get it, and you'll be like, oh, this is awesome, and it's the best $14 you will ever spend, because that's what I do. Anyway, I'm gonna do these reviews and stuff like that. I'm gonna do a bunch of other stuff, and coming up in a later video, I'm gonna announce some stuff to you that you're just gonna be like, are you kidding me? And yes, I'm kidding you. No, I'm not really kidding you, but it's gonna be awesome. Appreciate you watching. I hope that video helped you some way, even if you aren't gonna buy it. I hope you were like, huh, I didn't know you can do that, or like, hey, that's a good idea, or oh, that's how they used. Great. If you want some basics of title cards and lower thirds, really, really basic stuff, I have a free course over at the university. Go check that out. It's free. It'll cost you this much money or that much money. I hope that helps. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time. Okay, I'm just going to share with you what I've done, but don't tell anybody else, because most people get to the end and they're like, okay, I'm done watching the video, man, and okay, blah, and then they just click away on everything else. So if you made it this far, you get to hear what's really cool. There's two things really cool. One thing is that I'm really close to 100,000 subscribers, and when I reach that, I am going to do a massive free giveaway to everyone that's been subscribing on my channel. We're talking from companies like Deity, Aperture, iFootage, and more. Not like little, ooh, I'm just going to have a little clamp. We're talking like boom stuff, like bam. That's one that's coming up. The other thing that I've done is I basically chucked the rest of my life as far as my income and everything else and just went, what the hell? And I jumped off a cliff. And I'm just going to do YouTube in the university full time. How about that? Hey, how can you do that? Well, I'm just going to do that, and I'm just going to see what happens. And hopefully, with your support and everybody else's support, I can make this go right, and I can just deliver a lot of quality content to you. So there's good stuff coming up. Stay tuned. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. Leave comments. Do all that stuff everybody asked you to do, and do it now. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you later. Check.